All right. Thank you again, everybody, for being here. And Crystal, good to see you.
Yeah,
Just
good to
wanted,
see you guys too.
thanks for being here. Really excited to get started today. I'm just going to do a little introduction to Pandion, like we usually do for those who are new here, who might not have come to a workshop yet. So, Pandion Music Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit. We just got our official 501c3 status in January of this year, so we're pretty excited to get that rolling. But we've been running these workshops since about October of last year, having a workshop each week featuring different mentors from different areas of the music industry to help share advice and expertise to emerging artists who might not otherwise have the funds or resources to attend types of things like this. And we really want to break down those barriers between those who are already experts in their industry and those who are up and coming and might not have those resources or that information they need to help build their careers. So we're really excited to be able to offer this for free every week, and we've had a couple exciting events already. We've partnered with 2Indie, which is a music sync coaching company. We've done a couple really cool events with them in the past recently, and then we've got a few more in the works for the upcoming year, different events and partnerships. And we also have a new program, live stream wellness program that we're going to be starting sometime in the next month or so, which will be a weekly live stream through our social media for those who need mental health or wellness support, and just like a community to be a part of in the music industry. And yeah, we also have a creator circle, which is a private Facebook group. So if you haven't joined that yet, please join us and have conversations and meet people and network through that Facebook group. Um, and then also really excited, we started with our supervisor workshops at the end of each month, which today is one of them. We're doing a music collection where we're collecting songs from our community who joins us during the live workshop, and building a little disco playlist. And then we have a little disco library that we house on our disco site for supervisors to access whenever they choose. So at the end of this call, if you all want to access that song submission link, I'll drop it in the chat at the end, and you can submit a fully mixed and mastered song, and we can add it to this disco playlist that then Crystal will have access to, as well as other music supervisors and agents who use disco. So yeah, so that's what we have going for today and what we've been doing so far. And Crystal, I can give a little background on you. You founded Groomsy Music, which is an amazing
Mhm.
agency, um, and live in LA now.
Correct.
And
Yep.
also work as a supervisor and composer, working across all
Mhm.
medias. If you want to give a little more background on yourself and how you got started in the industry, that would be lovely.
Yeah, of course. Hey, everybody. My name's Crystal. Nice to be here. Um, yeah, so I have my company, Grimsy Music, does a combination of music supervision, composition, and music editing for various projects. So a lot of times I work with indie filmmakers, also do TV and larger projects as well, kind of all across the spectrum. Um, I grew up in Wyoming, in what is a small town by by comparison, but it was a large city for Wyoming. But And then went to college in at Montana State University in Bozeman, Montana, um, where we've got Michael Gregg here on the call, is actually one of my college buddies. It's nice to see you, Michael. Um, I went to Montana State because I could study film and music at the same time. I knew I wanted to work in music for media, but I wasn't exactly sure what that meant, right? I didn't really know what my options were. I didn't really know how to do that. So that was the choice I made, and I'm really happy that I did. It worked out really well. It was a great program, both the film program and the music program. There were very very welcoming of creativity, and definitely encourage students to try new things and to explore and to experiment, which was really really fun. So then I moved to LA and started as an intern for a music clearance company called the Music Bridge, which was a really great experience because I had all this music experience and film production experience, but I didn't really have a lot of experience with the business of the music industry. Basically, I didn't really know. Um, I really had very limited information about how it all worked, what a publisher did, what a label did, what all these administrators and all these different people that are involved, what they do. So that was just a great, really great learning experience, learning on the job of how copyrights work and how, you know, title registrations and how important cue sheets are and all that stuff. So that's where I started, and then I worked a few kind of odd jobs here and there. I worked, as a PA for the American Music Awards for a weekend, and just kind of odd jobs like that. And then when it ended up working for a composer at his studio, running his studio for quite a while, which was a really positive experience. So because it was just him and me in the studio. So I got exposed to a lot of different things, from music editing to engineering recording sessions and composing as well. So that was just a great experience in that I got to do a lot of different things. So then I was able to combine that experience with my music clearance and licensing experience and start working towards building my own company, Groomsy Music, and basically combining all of that experience into this. The idea is that really, really like working with independent filmmakers a lot. I find that a lot of independent filmmakers don't really know what their choices for music are. They know they need music, but they don't know really how to get it, especially if it's their first film. So I love helping people navigate that space, and exploring those different options. If they are looking for a composer, if they're looking to license songs, if they want to do a combination of things, and kind of what those options are. And then I'm able to then help facilitate those, whether I end up doing that myself or if we end up bringing on another contractor to handle things. It just depends on the situation. Yeah, so I have that's kind of my background. Some of my recent projects. I have an upcoming project with Netflix that I'm music supervising a series for. I also had a super indie film called Chrissy Judy that came out earlier this year. It had a very limited theatrical run. It's a really, really wonderful, wonderful film. It was an example of something that was getting ready to shoot, and then the pandemic happened, and they lost their funding, and then a year and a half later I get an email from the director that they're up and running again and ready to go. So I'm really proud of that film and how everything worked out. Yeah, so, and I also do I've also worked a lot with Dolly Parton's studio in Nashville on her various productions. She just did a Mountain Magic Christmas for NBC last year. So, which is just super fun. So again, like all over the place. We've got Dolly Parton and then this, micro budget black and white indie. So it's fun. I get to experience a lot of different projects in my work, which I really, really enjoy.
Cool. That must be so fun. I was gonna say you must be getting a lot of Christmas stuff then if you're working with Dolly Parton for New
Yeah,
Year's.
there's always everything's always very positive and spirited, and yeah, she's there. Her whole team is great. So
That's really cool. I love how how you just your trajectory to getting to where you are is really cool. You've had such a wide range of experience, which is must be nice as a supervisor to get all of that get all of that experience in your background. Did you
yeah,
have
I think. Go
oh
ahead.
go ahead. I was just gonna
Oh
ask
no,
if
I
you
was just
had
gonna
like
say, yeah.
Oh, sorry. There's like a lag coming from mine. Sorry.
Mm. I'll just say something real quick. Then, so
Yeah,
I
go
was just
ahead.
going to say, yeah, it's helpful. I like having kind of a broad range of experience. That was one thing that was nice about going to film school, was that it exposed me to all the different elements of filmmaking. So even though, I would by no means ever consider myself a cinematographer, I did take cinematography class. I did take picture editing. I took acting classes, took all this stuff. And so I have a broad understanding of how roles impact each other, which I think can be really helpful, because it's one thing, I think, to really like know your craft and know your industry and know exactly what you do, but it's also really helpful to be able to understand how that integrates with everybody else and how those roles work together, so that you can help each other, basically. So I know what somebody else might be anticipating from me, I know what I need from them, and what the challenges might be in getting that. And yeah.
Well, was there something specifically that kind of drew you to sync licensing and supervision, specifically after your experience with film, and what kind of led you in that direction?
Yeah, I think it was, I've always loved music in movies and TV. When I was a kid, I was like, I want to be the person that puts music in there, that says, let's do this, and decides what music they're going to use and how they're going to use it. And I also, I through movies and TV, I was exposed to a lot of music that way. I discovered bands and artists that I hadn't ever known, by hearing their song in a movie, and then going and looking them up, and discovering that I've got this new favorite band that I love now because I saw this movie. And who knows if I would have come across them, you know, in a different time or way, but it was through that I um, really just kind of learned to love music. And so the clearance and licensing was tremendously helpful, because I think it's one thing to know music and to be able to provide an emotional impact to a story with music, but then there's so much that goes on beneath the surface of obtaining the rights to do that, and negotiations, and so the business side of it is super important.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's such an important job, and I think if you're not involved in the sync world, like many of us are here are already, but it's just I think people don't really think about that role and when they're watching a TV show or a movie.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's cool that you had that desire from an early age. That's really cool.
I had
Is
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I was just gonna say, was is there any sort of like music genre right now that you're seeing, that you're working with more? I mean, it probably varies depending on the project you're working on, and you have such different projects.
Yeah,
So,
it definitely varies by the project. The indie film Chrissy Judy, we were um, working with a lot of uh, more kind of older style jazz tunes a little bit. And then, one of the projects I'm working on right now, we're leaning more into kind of original 80s, 90s hip hop music, which is really fun. So it really just depends on the project, which is nice, because then it gives you an opportunity to go and explore a genre that maybe isn't something that you listen to yourself on a daily basis, or it's not something that you gravitate towards. But you get to experience and find all new music to fall in love with each project, which is really fun.
yeah, that's great. Do you have like a favorite type of genre to look for? Do you do much, do you get most of your music sent to you, or do you do a lot of like discovery on your own for your projects?
Um, it's definitely both. It's definitely both. A lot of times what'll happen is it starts with me looking for something. I've got something in mind. and I'm looking around for artists that might fit that particular style, and budget for the project. And then a lot of times that will then lead me into connecting with people who then send me things in return of, okay, great, yes, this sounds great, but what about these other options as well, which is really nice because then it works to expand my search, right? Because just doing it on my own can be a little limited because I only know what I know, right? And I only, I've got all the places that I normally go to, and I explore them and I reach out, and so it's great to how I do love having people send me stuff. I wish I could listen to everything that that comes in. A lot of times that's just not possible, but it's just, and it's great seeing other people get excited about the project as well, right? And
Right.
being able to kind of share this story and what we're trying to create and bring other people into it, in a way that makes them excited to work on the project as well.
Yeah. Cool. Do you have to often like fight for a song when you're working with a production team at all? Or is it usually like by the time it gets there, it's already kind of figured out and settled? Or do you often have to kind of stand up for one that you feel is right for the placement?
I'll stand up for something to an extent. I mean, there's if I've got an idea and I love it, um, I'll put it out there, and then if it's not received well, then I'll kind of tuck it away for a minute, think about it. I might bring it back again later if I see an opportunity, to say, well, let's revisit some of the ideas that we've had from before, and go back, because it really is such a back and forth. And as the project grows, like the direction changes sometimes, and um, but ultimately, I mean, it's the director or producer, depending on the project, whether it's film or TV, they if they don't like it, then there's not much point in pushing forward. I can love it as much as I and think it's, going to be the best thing ever, but if everybody else on the team isn't on board with it, there's not very much point in trying to push it forward. So a lot of times what I'll do is I have, a handful of songs that I just keep, okay, this wasn't the project, but maybe there's another one coming. And so I've got those, there's always songs kind of lurking in the back of my head that are just waiting for the right moment to bring forward.
Yeah. Nice. I think it's just cool to have just the thought of like supervisors with just a like little library of their own that they're kind of building on, and they're using for pitching to production teams and stuff. I think that's really cool. Do you take submissions from artists at all, or do you usually just work like with agencies and with your own agency? Are you just
Mhm.
kind of working more on the top end there, not as much with like directly with artists?
I actually work directly with artists quite a bit. This comes up a lot in the independent film space, um, because a lot of times we're not going to those bigger labels or bigger publishers. And I actually really enjoy working directly with the artists. I find a lot of times people are either, I don't know. I think it's exciting, working with artists. I love what musicians do, and I love being able to elevate their music, and get it out there in a new way. Like I said, like, I experienced a song through a movie, growing up, and to be able to put that in there for somebody else and for a whole new audience to experience this artist's song, I think is really exciting. And I just love the enthusiasm of musicians in general. I mean, I'm one myself, not but in a different way. But um, yeah, so I think it's definitely, um, I don't know, it can be challenging at times, because a lot of sometimes artists don't quite have, you've got great music, but it's a little messy when it comes to the rights. Um,
Right.
so that gets a little tricky. Nothing that I haven't pushed through. I haven't really ever dropped something because it was messy, but it definitely, um, you know, it can get a little interesting. There's some fun conversations that are had about what maybe they need to do with their music to get things organized. But um, yeah, I don't know. I do genuinely enjoy working directly with the artists, and so that's one thing about independent film that is really great.
Yeah, cool. Do you have any advice for artists who are getting their music into sync of what to avoid to not get into those
Mm.
conflicts with production teams and supervisors?
Yeah, well, I think, to begin with, it's if you're working with co-writers or you're working with a producer, just to make sure that the understanding is clear, with who owns what percentage, and um, and who is assigned to which publishing company. So a
Right.
lot of times I work with artists who they don't have a publishing company. And so I've even worked with artists to help them set up a publishing entity through ASCAP or BMI just so they can then receive their publishing.
Mm.
Because
Um,
it's essentially it's a waste if you don't, if you just say, oh, I don't have a publisher. Well, it's okay, but you can be a publisher, you can publish your own music, and then you can receive the publishing royalties for that airing as well. So I think that's, just having those kind of, it can be tricky, depending on the band and the dynamics of making sure everything's clear. You never want to rock the boat and shake things up in ways that are uncomfortable for people. But it also is it's just really important to know what the rights are, and also who's representing that song, as far as who's going to be the point person for me to talk to when I reach out to, if I've got going to this band and all I've got is their band@gmail.com address, and I reach out to who's going to be the person that then is responding and understanding of that, so that I'm not getting emails from three different people and I don't really know it can get jumbled. So just to try and keep like a clear communication pathway, I think is really helpful.
Hmm. And that's, yeah, we've learned in these communities so much that getting that all just hashed out beforehand before you ever submit a song anywhere is really
Hmm.
useful, so then you don't have to like backtrack and get all that stuff worked out. That's great of you to help the artists though, if you find a song that you like, instead of just trashing it, if there's something missing from that, or if something needs to be done before it can move forward, to actually still hold on to it and work with the artists. I imagine there's lots of supervisors who probably wouldn't do that, who would just be
It
really
can
quit trying to get through something quickly. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that is, and I mean, and that's the thing that can be a very easy deterrent, because if you are looking for something fast and you need
Mm.
something quick, that's not going to be you're not going to go down that road, right?
Yeah.
You're just not going to do it. So that can be a little bit of a blocker for sure.
Yeah. 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 Carl just was reminding people, if anyone has questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, or we can actually, in a few minutes, if you want to just raise your little hand, virtual hand, we can unmute you and you can come on and ask your questions. So either way works for us. Um,
we
we
have
can
one
just go,
already.
yeah, we can just go through them now, actually, as we're going.
Yeah.
Gloria, did you want to ask face to face, or do you want us to
Yeah.
read?
I think she should do face to face. Gloria, you could do that. Yeah, that'd be more fun.
Hi, yeah, I'm unmuted now. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here. It's such a pleasure to hear all your amazing experience, Crystal. And thanks obviously to you guys, Pandion Music. I just had a question because in the past I was thinking if that's maybe like a turn off, or like a, so basically if I don't know, let's say I'm signed to a few different sync agencies, obviously different songs with different agencies, and I don't necessarily know who they're pitching to all the time. And I also want to be proactive myself and, create relationships with music supervisors and maybe send them some music. If the agency, let's say on the rare occasion, is actually already sending you the same music, and then I send it to you as well separately, is that annoying to you? Like, I'm already, in touch with the agency. Why is your, artist writing me too? Is that annoying, or is that okay? Like, I always wondered.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. That's and personally, I think that's totally fine. Particularly if it's something where like if we have already talked about something, or we've already established a bit of a relationship, so there's a basically, so you're not just blindly sending me stuff. But if it's very, it's like, oh, this is, or even just something new that you've got, but sending it out to me, like all it is going to get it on my radar twice, which is, in my opinion, not a bad thing. Because that gives me two opportunities to listen to it instead of one. So yeah, I think and some other people might feel differently. But yeah, I think, just send it.
Great, thank you so much. And if a song is like exclusively represented, is it okay to be like, to have a note or in the metadata to add repped exclusively by? So maybe you're like, I want to get in touch with them directly rather than. Does that help as well? Maybe
that could be very helpful if you're sending specific things to say, this is repped by this agency or something like that. That's great. And then because one that gives me, I already know now that you've got, because they've got all their information in text, so I'm not going to be questioning whether or not this is a licensable piece of music. So that could be helpful. And then yeah, and then I know I've got the point person. So I think in that situation, I might get back to you and say, thanks so much for sending. I'll be in touch with your sync agency or whatever if something comes up. Yeah.
So much. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great question. Yeah, I think that's especially for artists who are like really proactive and are signed to agencies, but also want to have the relationships. And that's a great question to know whether or not that's something that can be done from both ends. That's great.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say, kind of in relation to that, like one thing that like those I like knowing about an artist even more so just than the music. I like knowing a little bit about where you live and what you're doing and things like that, because it helps me kind of get more information with that song, and it helps me digest it a little bit more. And so a lot of times I might honestly remember the information about you as an artist before I remember what your song was. But so that a lot of times will help keep things fresh for me on my mind.
Yeah, that's so cool. Love that.
We have a question from Glenn, and he's already unmuted.
Oh, great.
Hey guys, thank you so much for putting this on today. And Crystal, really great to meet you. And my question was a little bit outside, but I saw that you had all those 13.1 and 26.2 medals in the background. And
yeah,
I know for me, I've done a bunch of those as well. And it was like just a huge impact for me, not just like health-wise. So I was just curious, how many have you done? Did you have any favorites? And I did the one in Bozeman actually years ago.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And then have you felt?
I still haven't done one in Bozeman.
No. Oh, yeah. Has it impacted you outside of just like staying fit?
Yeah. It's a kind of a funny story how I started running. I did, like growing up, I was a musician. I played sports as a kid, but I was never very good. Once things started to get competitive, I was out basically.
Right.
And so, and I never understood why people would run. I was always like, why are they just running? Like, this seems awful. Why would you do that? So anyway, it was a couple of years after I moved to LA, and I had some friends that were living in San Francisco at the time, and we were all kind of in that very early stage of our career. We're PAing, we're assisting, we're doing different things, and we were talking about how we just weren't feeling very creative, and we're just we're so just like doing our jobs and not finding a lot of motivation to be creative. And so we had put together an idea. I was going to go up there for a weekend and we were going to make a short film, whatever it was, whatever came out of it, didn't matter. And so jokingly, I said, and if we don't do it, I'm signing us all up for a marathon. Well, then they all said, they're like, well, let's just do that. Wait, that was supposed to be a deterrent. You weren't supposed to want to do that. So
That's a pretty significant change.
It was a very significant change. So it turned into us. So I talked them into a half marathon. I said, can we please just start with a half? The full seems way too much. And so we ended up then trying to make a documentary about us training for this event is kind of then what happened. So of course the running has stuck. The documentary's never been finished. So I've done about I think 6 full marathons and
Nice.
Just under 10 maybe halves or something like that. But I surprisingly took to it, and it's definitely something that that I really enjoy, and it honestly, it's really good for my creativity. I get a lot of ideas while I'm running.
Yeah.
I think particularly like as your body gets kind of tired and your mind starts to wander, and all of a sudden you come up with a solution to that problem you were facing. And or this a lot of times I'll just play random music while I'm running, and so I'll hear something just on random that will remind me of something or inspire me for something. And so I definitely get a lot of ideas creatively running, which is a huge benefit for me, I think.
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome. Thanks. I've got 2 other questions, but I can wait in line if you need me to.
I don't think we've had anyone else raise their hand, so go right ahead.
Okay, I'll just throw up my 2 questions were what kind of music are you working on right now for the Netflix show? I think you may have said it was like hip hop stuff, but I just wanted to make sure. And then is there a way for us to find out what projects you're working on? Because I'm always trying to see like how can the music I'm creating be useful for supervisors that I can be connected with, and I don't want to send you something that's obviously not going to be of any use at the moment for you unless you would want it. But yeah, so I guess those are 2 questions.
Yeah, good questions. And it can be a little tricky to find out what people are working on because sometimes you can go, the best resource I find is just IMDb.
Right.
But one kind of downfall is sometimes credits won't get posted until it's too late, basically. Like I had a film that went up and it just didn't get put on IMDb until we were essentially done with it. And so then I did receive some emails from people like, hey, I saw you're working on this film. I read the synopsis, here's some stuff that I think would be great. And so unfortunately, it was too late for me to use it then. But I always appreciate when someone's taken the time to just not blindly send me stuff, and to actually look into what I'm doing and to send me something thoughtfully. And so a lot of times I'll still listen to that. And I'll do, like I said, I'll put it, okay, I've got now that's in my stash over here for another project. Or it also helps with other music supervisors or other people I'm working with that are licensing music. Maybe I'm not working on a project like that right now, but somebody else is. And if I listen to it and I love it, I might forward it along and say, hey, I know you're working on this project. This came through my door. I thought you might be interested.
Cool. Do you listen to everything that comes in? And then I'll stop, sorry.
No. I try to listen to a lot. Sometimes depends on the day. I usually, I try to listen to most. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. I might not listen to the whole song, um, which I hate saying, but I might listen to the first 30 seconds or something and then skip to the next one, just because of time. But I do try to listen to everything, and especially like I said, if it comes in personalized, that's a big deal for me. Like I have a couple different email addresses, and I'll notice if I get the same email to all of them, that was just like an email blast. Um, that I tend to not listen to that as much as if I get something that I know was actually sent to me and not to a mailing list, basically.
Everybody, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was hip hop for the current show you're working on?
Oh, yeah, exactly. So we're hip hop and jazz is a project that I'm working on right now. So
Does bossa nova fit into your jazz needs?
it definitely could. It definitely could.
Glenn is a profound composer and producer, so I highly recommend his music.
It's
Awesome.
very
Good.
kind of-
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. Love all the questions coming.
I think
Caroline?
Yeah.
Yeah.
we had somebody, Caroline, do you want to ask a question? I think she asked, how can we help you? I think that's her question, but I think that's great
Yes.
in general.
Hi, thank you so much for
There you
being
are.
here and doing this. It is really wonderful. And I just love how you are so generous and kind by forwarding music that you think might fit another person's project. And I have found, just passing along, that by helping other people, even if I don't have the right music, I send it to them and it just gets me more work, which is such a cool thing to do. But I wanted to ask you, um, is there anything we can do to help you? I think so many times when we contact music supervisors and sync agents, it's hard to know, like you say,
Mm-hmm.
how to know exactly what your needs are. But I just thought I would ask if there's anything you need. Let us know. And again, thank you so much. I'm Caroline Moore. I'm a composer, songwriter. I've got things that are in sync agencies, and I just love your music. I listen to your music on your website. So thank you for being here today. I'm learning so much.
Oh,
Thank you,
thank you,
Caroline.
Caroline. That's really nice. Yeah, I a lot of times I think about because like as we were just saying, it can be hard to know what I'm working on any given day. So I think a lot of it is more like continued communication, right? I think about a couple examples. One personally, the very early on when I started working for a composer, the reason that I got that job, I found out, was because I had interviewed with another company. They didn't really have a position that fit me at the time, but they said, check in, and we'll see, because things change, right? So I set an alert in my calendar, and like every 2 months, would just check in to say, hey, still, loved meeting you, all this stuff. And so ultimately they recommended me for this other position, and solely on the fact that I kept following up, that I did what I said I was going to do, that I just kept emailing, and not every week, not every day, but on like a month or 2 month basis. And that's how I got that job. And I see that happen organically with music submissions and musicians that I meet, of continuing the conversations of, if I say, I'm not looking for anything like that right now, but keep me updated on what you're doing. I genuinely mean that. Like I don't, you know, so when you've got new music coming out, let me know. When you've got a new style that you're working on or something like that, you know, let me know. And so like, just honestly, like I said, I like building relationships with artists, and that helps me do it. I get to understand a little bit more about you as an artist, as a musician, that way. And so it, you know, it sticks in my mind.
So we have something from Kev Oz. Do you ever place instrumental only tracks similar to your Duty Free soundtrack?
Yeah, definitely. Instrumental tracks can be placed quite a bit, a lot of times as source. So you'll have it in, you know, because one thing to think about when you're thinking about your music for film or TV or other media is there's so many different ways that music can be used. It can be used as that kind of, you know, that featured song in a montage, but it can also be used to help establish time and place. And so if you've got something that is out of character of the score, but maybe you know, something happens in the story and somebody travels to a certain place or goes into a specific restaurant or goes into a specific club, things like this, you know, that's when those instrumental tracks come in. Like those are perfect for that. And so definitely, yeah, like I definitely place instrumental tracks.
That's great.
Great to
So
know.
many great questions and answers, Crystal. Do
Mhm.
you have any, after hearing all these questions, do you have any, want to add anything from your own, you know, thought, in your own thought, like what you want to share with our group? Or we have anybody
Yeah.
from ranging from lyricist to composer in our groups, and producer.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I think one thing to think about with music for sync is thinking about how it influences story. And so when you're pitching music, um, if you're pitching it as it relates to story, not necessarily the music itself, but what's the emotion behind the music, or what is the um, you know, think of, I guess like when you're pitching a song, maybe think about a scenario in which the song would be great. You know, if you, what's that ideal situation that you think it could really work for? And not that you need to pitch it for that specific situation, but I think it helps to kind of get in that mindset of the larger story versus the music, right? Because you've got, it's not about the specific genre. Sure, you're working within something on a particular show, you've got different you know, constraints that you're keeping in to keep a specific style, but it's about the emotion that the song is creating. So is it creating aggression? Is it nervous? Is it anxiety provoking? Is it calming? Is it peaceful? Is it, what are, you know, thinking of the effect of the music when you're pitching, and not only the music itself.
Or the lyrics. Yeah, I agree with you, because
Yeah.
the feeling really brings out the emotions. And like something
Mm-hmm.
could be beautiful but haunting and a little
Exactly.
frightening, right? Or it could be beautiful and you're in a meadow and you're feeling peace. So it could go in so many different ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Exactly.
Love that. So I
Great.
think Elliot's asking, how do we get our music to you for consideration? I'm going to answer one way. Elliot, we're going to have a disco list that you can put your song onto. You pick your best song, and Crystal will have access to that. But on the side, I know you said that you go through agencies, but sometimes people pitch to you without overwhelming you or anything. Do you feel comfortable answering that, Crystal?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the disco playlist is going to be great because that's going to be, I'm going to go to it after this, right? And so it'll be in context of of what we're doing here. And it'll also be something that I can easily reference going back to that playlist. So that will be really helpful. Certainly you can email me. I'll put it in the chat here, I guess. contact@grimseymusic.com. You're more than welcome to send me emails. Links are usually better than attachments, just because attachments get kind of bogged down after a while. But what else was I going to say? Oh, and also one thing I did think about, I talked to a lot of musicians lately that I've seen a trend in not having websites, but just relying on Instagram or things like this, which I know works for a lot of people. Personally, I love a good website, even if it's just a landing page with the image and links to your stuff. That's something that I find really helpful, because it gives me a little bit more of a, okay, who is this person and what are they doing? Right? Like Instagram's fun once I already know you and once we've already connected and I can follow and see what you're doing. That's great. But as far as like, particularly that very first introduction, like a website is honestly super helpful for me.
Cool. That's great to know.
That's such a good point, Crystal. Even a landing page is so easy to get these days. And then if there's an article written about you, or you could put it all on that and have a one-stop place, right? With Spotify,
Exactly.
Apple, everything. Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah.
Jody has a question. I'm gonna unmute right now. Let's see if this works. There we go. Gotcha.
Hello, everyone. First of all,
Hi,
thank you
Jody.
for having this group. Hi. Great group of people. Really nice to meet everyone. Crystal, I'm heading to Wyoming for the first time in my life for a wedding.
Nice.
My nephew's getting married in Jackson, so very excited.
Oh, that's going to be beautiful. You're going to love it.
My brother said I can't wear black, but I'm like, all I have is black. Sorry, that's what's happening.
Oh, God.
But anyway, I'm not sure the question was answered. I'm thinking about your submission request for the jazz tunes. I've got a couple cabaret style songs, and I didn't know, is it just send one or send a couple?
I would say go ahead and you could send a couple if you have a link to it. If you are sending it as an attachment, just one. Okay. But yeah, if and I think I would say, like, if you're sending something specific like that, like 3 options or something is kind of a good range for me, as far as it's very digestible. Once we get into more than that, it's a little, I'm probably going to listen to the first 3 and then maybe a little bit of the following ones. And then if it is more of a broader thing, more is okay as well. Like you could send more than 3, but I think if you're wanting to focus on something specific, that's usually a good number for me.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Do you use Disco, Jody?
I do, yep.
Great, cool. Yeah, because that's an easy way to create a link with, like you can make your own playlists on Disco, so that you can just do one link with a few songs. But I know that it's kind of industry standard. I think, Crystal, correct me if I'm wrong, but just to send like a minute, maybe maximum of 3 songs to people, just for time and
just for time. Like that's usually a pretty good, right? Like people's attention spans just aren't that long. So it's just to be honest about it. That's usually a good link.
I wanted to make sure 2 wasn't too much.
No.
Yeah, okay. All
yeah.
Right. Definitely no more than 3.
Okay, great.
And thank you so much. I have a web page, but mine's for my graphic design work. And my links to all the music are on there, but I never thought about including that somehow in my disco list. I never thought that would be important, but I will do that.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, and that could be, I know everybody's different, but for me, I think music is very personal. And so I like to know who it's coming from, rather than just a music file. I don't know. I just find it a lot more interesting to know a little bit about you.
I love that, especially
Thank you.
because you're working with stories. So I'm sure it's
Mm.
nice to know the backgrounds of where the songs are
Yeah.
coming from for that reason too. That's so nice. Cool.
Gloria says send an electronic press kit. Is that something that is good to see as well? An electronic press kit link when
Um,
someone's sending music?
it can be really nice, especially if you've got like if there's, you know, an article that you're wanting to share that you've been featured in or something like that. That can be really nice. It depends on what you're sending it to me for, I guess. To make sure that the focus is on the music still and not to, you know, I don't know if we were like an EPK can be great to know. I'm just trying to think like what the best scenario for an EPK would be. If I'm looking for if they're going to be on camera musicians or something like that, that's definitely a huge bonus for if we're filming and looking for there's, you know, a band playing in the bar or something like that. That can be really, really helpful because that information will be helpful to share with the producers and directors to get them on board, basically.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, I'm visualizing you in film school, you know, doing acting lessons and doing the whole shebang. I spent I didn't go to NYU film school, but I spent a little time there. And I love the whole community there. It was so interesting. And my husband went to NYU, but I went at a different time when I was visiting and checking it out. But I remember thinking, how cool is this? Like for you to kind of, if you wanted to, make your own mini movie, like and have all this professional experience behind you. Is that ever something in your thoughts in the future? Getting back behind
you know,
the
every
camera?
once in a while I get ideas about it. And then I remind myself how much work it is and that I probably have other things that need my time and attention before I do that. But I definitely think about, you know, and I still am in touch with so many of my colleagues from film school. So it's great. I get to be, you know, hear through their stories and be involved in production in that sense, which is nice. And my husband's a film producer, so there's always production talk going on all the time. Yeah, so I think I love I love coming up with ideas for stories and things like that. I don't know, you know, I could see it happening, but probably not anytime soon.
Well, you can what is it? You can wrangle all of us in to help you if you ever want to make your own little movie.
Perfect.
Yeah. We'll be your support team.
That sounds great.
We have 4 more minutes.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop the link right now for the submission link for the disco playlist, so everyone can open it up and make sure it works for everybody.
Do you want to verbally give the overview of what we're asking?
Yeah. So you'll see it on the link as well, the song requirements, but we are asking for everybody to just send one song, please, that doesn't get overloaded. And then fully mixed and mastered songs, radio ready, so that Crystal could use them for a placement if she chooses, or if another supervisor finds it at some point that it's ready to go. And that means all metadata also embedded in the tracks, including songwriters and splits and everything, and contact information for one person contact. And then MP3 or AIFF files are best for metadata, so keep that in mind. Please include those formats. And then only disco links, so you can send the form is through disco as well, so just send a disco link from your own disco account. So those are the requirements. And then someone asked, I'll just bring this up because I'm sure someone else might have this question, if you've submitted a song for one of our past workshops for a supervisor for a disco playlist. You're welcome to send the same song if you want. If it's your best song and that's the one you want to be sending to music supervisors, that's good. But also, we compile these disco playlists in like a little library of sorts. So if you want to kind of keep a variety of songs there, you can send a different one. But it's really up to you which song you want to send. And yeah, looks like the link's working for some people, so that's good. Song with
Jordan,
with instrumental. I think you could just send us the song, have the instrumental, in case a supervisor does want to use it, they would probably ask for the instrumental. So make sure that you have it available. But for us, for our purposes, just the main MP3 or the AV file would be good. Yeah.
Well
Jordan,
put,
how long do
Jordan.
people have? Is there a deadline? Somebody asked if how long they have.
If you could send it to me probably by the end of the week, that would be great. Just because I'm not going to be going in and checking all the time for anyone who's submitted late. So, yeah, by the end of the week would be great.
That's a great cutoff.
Yes. And then we'll get that all set up, and then I'll email Crystal when it's ready. And
Perfect.
and then it's also, I'll just drop you guys the link to our main library also on Disco, so you can kind of see what it looks like for supervisors if they come across it, and then you can also access the past playlists as well if you'd like to check those out.
And we're offering a replay of this, right, Jordan?
Yes, we are. So the replay will also be up by the end of the week. I usually get it up by the next day, so by tomorrow. But you can check in at the end of the week, and it'll be there.
Just go to our website, and you'll see it under the replays for the mentors for the workshops.
Yeah.
Jordan,
So-
Michelle Vice Maslin wanted to know, is the chat savable? I know that we do save the chat, but I'm not sure as to whether we put it on our website.
We haven't made that visible for the community, the chats. And I don't believe it lets you save it. I can save it on my end. If you needed anything from the chat, you can just message us. Be happy to share. Yeah.
And yeah, so we're super psyched to have you on with us, Crystal. You're so generous with your information and just with your offerings. So thank you.
Yeah,
Amazing.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you for
This
having
was
me.
wonderful.
You guys have a great
Yeah.
organization. It's very nice to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank
Yay!
you.
I know, and you were also so generous to help with the syncathon. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that was so
Yeah,
great.
That was
no
really,
problem.
really
That was fun.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really fun.
That was really amazing. Thank you again. And I'm looking forward to getting you back here at Earthstar. And
Yes.
we'll touch base later. And everyone, I think, have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone.
Great to see everyone's faces. Thanks for joining
Thank
today.
you guys.
Thanks,
Thank you
Crystal.
for joining.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.